Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Dr. Enver Tohti is our guest for today and he has some very startling information to reveal. Dr. Tohti, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me here.
So, Dr. Tohti, before we go into this in a bit of a detail, perhaps you could share with our viewers a bit about your upbringing, where you're born, your education, your professional training, and your employment in China. Sir, please go ahead.
Sure. I was born in a city called Komol, that is in my language. In Chinese, it is called Hami. And that is in Xinjiang, we call it East Turkestan. That is in eastern part of the Xinjiang. And then I studied medicine from 1980 to 1985. Then I worked as an oncology surgeon in a central hospital of Railway Bureau of Urumqi, where we only treat those people work for the Railway Bureau.
So now, at some point in time, you were asked to start helping out in human organ harvesting. How did that come about?
Well, there is a myth around the world says that I have been participating in organ harvesting. The reality is I didn't know that was organ harvesting, and it was only one case, one-off, and that was in 1995 in the summer, and I don't know exactly June or July, but it was definitely on Wednesday because my scheduled surgery days are Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays. And on that Wednesday, I was the only one who was free. Then one day before, my chief surgeon called me to the office and asked me, say, do you want to do something wild? I said, yes, why not? Because I was a young surgeon. So my chief surgeon said, you go and call theater and get one a mobile operation equipment and then bring your assistants, 2 nurses, and waiting for me tomorrow morning, 9:30 at hospital gate. So I was actually quite excited, and I got everything prepared. And the next morning, 9:30 at hospital gate, they appeared in the car, and they said, "Follow us." So we started to follow them because we are a team, and with our van and following them. So from that direction of travel, it is towards the west. And I know we had a branch hospital in Western Mountain area, Western Mountain district actually. But halfway into the journey, we turned left again. And I got lost because I never been to that part of the world. But our driver, he knows. He said, this is the way going to the Western Mountain execution ground. And I was scared. I said, what are we going to do in the execution ground? Anyway, since we are there, we had to go. Then, by the time we arrived that there, behind a hill, our chief surgeon was waiting. And he said, come around when you hear gunshots. You know, we even more scared. But because we are meant to save people. But here, what are we going to do in the place where people are executed? Anyway, had been ordered, then we had to wait. Around 40 minutes or 50 minutes, I don't know how long, we started hearing the noise. We can hear the truck coming, people shouting, people chanting, somebody shouting, and the whistle blowing, then gunshots. The gunshot is not like a rifle, automatic machine gun. It's like many rifles shoot at the same time. Then we rushed in. Then there was a police officer said, "Go to the far right. That is yours." And I said, "Why it's mine?" Because I didn't know. Then we go to the far right, and our chief surgeon was waiting there. And he said, "Now, put this body into your van and remove liver and 2 kidneys as quick as possible." By that time, I understood I come here is to remove organs. At that moment, I become a robot just to carry out the program, carry out the duty which was programmed to do. Just like I received the training and do surgery, and this is what I'm going to do, without any motion, because I didn't feel guilty. I didn't have any, motion. So after 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I removed, and our chief surgeon took that organ, and they told me, said, "Now you take your team back to the hospital, and remember, today nothing happened." And I said, "Yes. We lived in a communist country, and we know what's that meaning. That means if you say anything, you will be in trouble." Since that day on, none of us has ever talked about it. Until 2009, I met Ethan Gutman. He was presenting a book called State Organs in UK Parliament. And he said it is extremely difficult to have first-hand evidence. Then I raised my hand and I told him this story. Because this story, I tried to forget, but I couldn't. It is too heavy for me to carry this story. So I have to let it go. And that is what happened.
I'm very, very sorry to hear, and I'm also sorry to put you through this story one more time, Doctor.
No problem.
So you said that you were asked to do it once, or did you have to do it more than once?
Only once.
Only once. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I have had other guest speakers come on this hangout and explain that Uyghurs, members of the Falun Gong, were usually targeted. Also, some Tibetans. Now,
Yeah.
as far as I know, Falun or Falun Gong for the West, these are Buddhists. By Buddhists, then they are also vegetarians. They are also not smokers. Is it true that they were preferred, and why?
For this statement, it is partially true. What actually happened was Chinese just started organ harvesting can be traced back to 1960. 1960, they started this, but they had a problem. They had a shortage of organ sources. Then they actually, in 1990s, they started stealing organs from Uyghurs in Xinjiang, because Uyghurs, we don't have any master to speak for us. So nobody cared about us. So they started stealing organs since 1990 in Xinjiang. And why Falun Gong was targeted? Because before 1999, Falun Gong was legal in China, and many Chinese high officials they were practiced this, and many people they knew after you practice this Falun Gong, your body gets more healthier. But what happened is in 1999, the number of Falun Gong practitioners has exceeded the number of Communist Party members. That made the CCP realize that they cannot allow another organization which is bigger than them to exist in China. That is the main reason they started a crackdown on Falun Gong. And since Falun Gong, they have 90 million members then. And this become a unlimited source of organ source. This is one. Secondly, Falun Gong practice is a kind of Buddhist practice that is true, but they do eat. Some of them actually they do eat meat, and not all of them are vegetarian. But they don't drink, they don't smoke. That is true. And since they do meditation, and their body, according to the Chinese officials, are much more healthier. So their body become much more desired. And I think the main reason they got targeted is because of the number. Because their number is large, too large, to be ignored by the CCP. Then, after that, when Falun Gong practitioners they started campaigning around the world against this, many Chinese people they started hearing about it. So many of them they started cautious on it. So what happened? They turned to Uyghurs. Turned to Uyghurs for two reasons. One, again, we don't have representative on this world. Secondly, Uyghurs, they are Muslim, they don't drink, they don't eat pork, which is very, very much fit for the desires from Arab countries, because they want halal organs. And the halal organs only come from Muslims. And that is how, and that is why, after Falun Gong, now the main victim of organ harvesting are Uyghurs.
Question for you. Is every prisoner of CCP a potential organ donor?
Yes. In CCP's mind, everybody who is a enemy of the state is potential organ donor. That is before. Now, whole Uyghur nation has been DNA sequenced. The bio information has been registered. And now, what can I say is every single Uyghur, they are potential donor, regardless their status. Even they didn't commit any crime, they are potential donors.
Understood. So if I understand you correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if I understand you correctly, the entire Uyghur population has been DNA fingerprinted. So they know exactly their blood group, their other problems, and so on. Plus, the Uyghurs do not eat pig. So they are preferred by some countries, such as the Middle East countries. And because the government knows the DNA of each Uyghur individual, they are all a walking potential organ donors.
Well, you actually answered your own question, and what I have said just confirmed what you said. Yes, that is true. every single Uyghur is a potential organ donors. Because I can give you one example. The largest organ transplantation center in China, it is in Tianjin, and it's called the number one Dongfang Qiguan Yizhi Zhongxin. It means Eastern Organ Transplantation Center. In 2009, this center changed its name into Arabic name. It was called Omar Center. Why do you think they changed this name into Arabic? Because Arabs, then they are the ones who has extra money. And they pay 3 times higher price for halal organs. And halal organ only can be found from Uyghurs. But now, we cannot say only Uyghurs. All minority people in Xinjiang are targeted.
Now, so you mentioned that people from Middle East are one set of recipients. Are there any other recipients, Japanese or Taiwanese or from the West, Western Europe, United States, and so on?
Recipients simply is people who has money or people who has power, regardless from where, all around the world. They are potential recipients.
It's very, very, very sad to hear this. Now, when foreigners, travel to China for a transplant, what is the information provided to them? Are they saying that this person died in an accident and therefore their organs are ready? How is the information given to the visitors?
All information are fake. None of them are true. When you go to China to receive this organ, they will tell you this organ donor was a criminal or who has a terminal disease cannot be cured, so his healthy organ can be used. All sorts of stories. None of them are true, because simple fact is that if you log on to Chinese National Organ Voluntarily Registry website, you can find that in whole China, until last week, voluntarily registered organ donor only 2 million. Compared 1,400,000,000 population, only 2 million are registered.
Less than.
And in United Kingdom, for example, 60 million population, 100% are registered. And despite 100% registered, if they need a set of lungs, they have to wait for 2 years. But in China, only 2 million registered. Again, they can find one set of lungs in 5 hours time. They have the lowest organ donation registration on earth. Compared to the population is 0.0014%, but they have the largest number of organs. How it is possible? Where does this organ come from? That is the question Chinese government has to answer.
Now, can you please share us some numbers? I have had another gentleman share some numbers, like I think 20,000 a year, but I think it sounded a little low compared to what you are just saying. Can you please share us some numbers?
If you go to endorganpillaging.org, this website, you will find a report produced by Ethan Gutman, David Matas, and David Kilgers. That report is 700 pages long. In that, you can find detailed information, each hospitals, how we calculated these numbers. So we think at the peak time, the organ transplantation has reached 100,000 per year. 30,000 per year.
Oof, that's a huge number, and it's all being done without the consent, and oftentimes a person is just killed for the organs. It's a hard thing to swallow, because in the West we also have organ transplants, but that's only when there is a genuine demise. Somebody died accidentally or something happened to them. So now this is a story that you are able to tell today because you were able to escape from the clutches of the Chinese Communist Party. How did you manage to escape from China?
Okay, this will lead to another story. First of all, that organ transplantation I have done, just remember, in China, this is legal. This is legal. This is nothing. So I didn't commit any crime in China. So the reason for me to leave was I was oncology surgeon, and I noticed that in my region, in Xinjiang, East Turkestan, the cancer rates are very high. So I made investigation on cancer rates, and I discovered that Chinese nuclear test program in my homeland is responsible for the out of controlled cancer patients. So I published this discovery by making a documentary film with Channel 4 in UK. And this documentary film is called Death on the Silk Road. Now it is online, you can watch it. And for that reason, I had to run away, because that is something Chinese government they didn't want, they didn't like. So we spent 6 weeks in Xinjiang. We produced this documentary film, and I left the country before this film even showed on TV. If they show on TV before I left, then I have no chance to leave. So when I left, I was a innocent man. Only after 2 months, the documentary showed on TV, and the Chinese government said, "Oh my God, how this man run away?" That is how I run away.
So did you escape with your whole family?
I wish I did. I couldn't. When I left my country, I didn't even say goodbye to my family. I lied to them. I said, "We are going to another city to make some sightseeing." Then after I come to Istanbul, then I called. I said, "Sorry, we left in a rush." I couldn't say sorry. Oh, no, I couldn't say goodbye.
Now, are they still in mainland China, your family?
Yes, yes.
So how can they
Running out.
how can they join you now?
No, my children, I managed to bring my daughter 9 years after apart, and my son 18 years apart. After 18 years, haven't seen him. And with my son, and we publicly announced that we are not father and son anymore, long time ago. So he will be free. So that's how we managed to unite.
It's really, really heartbreaking to hear all this, sir. Now, you have been in many prominent global stages, but still the rest of the world hasn't done much. They have not woken up to this harsh reality of the CCP. What needs to be done to make people to kind of sit up and take notice? It's like an electric shock that we have to give to say, "You listen, guys, this is something really bad happening in mainland China. The CCP is doing this. Do something about it."
Unfortunately, what you just said, it is very, very good wishes. and I also had such hope. The problem is, just look in different way. For example, let me put you a question. If you or your family member need an organ now, and your country said, your doctor said you have to wait for 2 years, and probably you can't wait that long because you may have died. And at this time, China said, I can give you in 1 week. And will you do this interview?
It's a difficult question to answer, Dr. Toth.
Yes, exactly. It is very difficult because the recipient and the beneficiaries of these organs are rich people and powerful people. So I don't think this world, they don't know that CCP is such terrible party, because they have seen Russian Communist Party, they have seen Vietnamese Communist Party, and that Korean Communist Party, and the Chinese Communist Party caused caused 50 million people death by starvation. They knew that. The problem is China had too much money. That is a quite simple answer. And then now I can see people started waking up, say, we don't need dirty money. And I think the consciousness is coming back.
That's good to know. So, if you were to come up with a list of 5 things that you would like to see the rest of the world do immediately, can you list those things for me, please?
Well, I don't know 5 things, but what I know is whatever we, the Uyghurs, telling you, it is the truth. And you find out that the CCP always lying by very hard way. This coronavirus is the one typical example that CCP never tell you the truth. So if you believe the CCP says, then you are too naive. And what I would like to say to those people that Uyghur people, they are living in between 2 nuclear test sites. One is the Chinese nuclear test site, and to the northwest, it was the Russian nuclear test site. In between is where we live. So if you got an organ from Uyghurs, just think about it, because our body are radioactive. You might die by the radiation before you die by the failure of the organs, probably. And the next thing is, God created us equal. And if you make your life, if you make a continuation of your life, make another person die, I don't think God will accept you in his kingdom. That is my message.
So, sir, you paid a huge personal cost for standing and exposing the CCP's thriving cash cow. Please tell our viewers how your personal circumstances have changed since you came to the United Kingdom.
Well, since I was a surgeon, I was living on the top of the society. And now I am a Uber driver, living on the bottom of the society. My circumstances has changed huge. However, if a time can be go back, or if there's a second time, I will still do it. Because I cannot standing there and looking at that a crime is being committed. I cannot stand there and to see some person kill another just for their organs. Because Uyghur people's life worth nothing, but their organs now it's quite expensive now.
Well, it's again, I'm at a loss for words. See, inside China, there is complete data control. You don't have any dissemination of data. For example, this conversation between you and I will not be seen by most mainland Chinese people. They have a complete vice-like grip on what their people can consume. And we know that an order change is needed, not today, but yesterday. How does one bring about a world order to try and change what is going inside China? Clearly, this is not even a communist regime, it is much worse than that.
I think outside China, the world outside of China knows very little about Chinese politics, including all other countries. Chinese Communist Party, they are very, very good on cheating. And the Western world, they are very, very bad on detecting these lies. So in reality, in China, whatever happens is because of the CCP, they want to take control. It's nothing that they want to do for the people's benefit. No, forget about it. They never ever thought about do anything for people's benefit. No. But again, from what is happening now inside China, we can tell that the collapse of the CCP, it is on the horizon. It's not far. I can't tell when, but it's not far. And then minority people in China, we didn't have problem with the Han Chinese people because Han Chinese people also victim of the communism. They also controlled by the Communist Party. So for all people, all victims of the Communist Party in China, my message is, please rise up. The only thing to change your life is rise up, to overturn this party. That is the way of surviving, because we can see what is happening in Hong Kong. That seeing Hong Kong is enough for
that. Thank you, sir. Do you now feel, or are you now afraid that you might be followed by the CCP in the United Kingdom?
Before, I did have such fear, but now I don't think the United Kingdom will allow Chinese, Chinese agents freely operate in this country. So I think more safe now.
Okay. Now, I would just like to ask you a few questions. We are about 35 minutes into our hangout. So I have a question from a listener who doesn't want to mention his name, but he was just listening to this this hangout, and he said that you heard the gunshot. When you operated on this person, was that person alive still, or was that person dead?
This person was still alive. It's half alive. And because I have to hold it, because I have to put this charge and then the batteries run out. The gunshot is shot to the right chest. So to knock him out and not him die immediately. So he will die anyway, eventually, but he will not die immediately. So there's time for me to operate on. When I cut his body through, he tried to struggle. And I can see, when I cut it through, I can see bleeding. That is to say his heart was still pumping blood. There's even more hideous situation than that. In in a Chinese city called Kunming, there were 6 surgeons. They have published medical paper on Chinese medical journal, and on this journal, on this paper, they openly admit that when the donor brought into the theater, they general anesthetic was applied. This indicates that donor was alive. The donor was worked in, and they used general anesthetic. If this case is a kidney transplantation, I would have no any objection, because I can sell one of my kidney and take my money and go home. But this paper is about 2 cases of heart and lungs combined transplantation. For the non-trained ear, this doesn't make any sense. If I explain this to you, you will understand. On this paper, they said this donor was alive because they used general anesthetic. Then they took this donor's heart away, and they took this donor's heart and given to another person, and they didn't tell you what happened to the donor. And this is a medical paper published on the medical journal, and I have that copy. That is 2006. You see, due to the sheer number of transplantation, Chinese surgeons, they even forgot to hide their crime. So now they brought a crime into the theater where human life should be saved, but where now human life is determined. And then the other thing is how Chinese authority know in the 2 weeks' time there will be an accident and somebody's heart will be ready for you. How do they know?
That's a very good question. That's a very good question. Please continue.
Yeah, because this happened by the Israeli doctor. One of his patients told him that China said in 2 weeks' time he will have a heart. So how on earth you will know there's a heart going to be ready in 2 weeks' time? So that is a smoking gun. That is to say, Chinese will make someone die on that day and make one heart available for you. That is the truth. Because otherwise, you can't imagine how.
Sir, this is a medical question. This is just for my curiosity. How long can a patient live on a borrowed heart, on a borrowed kidney, on a borrowed lung?
Oh, that is, sorry, I'm not expert on it. You may need to ask transplantation surgeon. I really don't know this question.
Because I'll give you some empirical data that I know of. Even in India, what happens is people having 2 kidneys will give up 1 kidney, and then there is a newspaper ad sometimes, and they say that I'm looking for this particular donor with this blood group and so on and so forth. And when that happens, there is a price exchange, and I know for a fact from all the data that it is like a limited life, 4 or 5 years, maybe not more than that. And you cannot keep on doing this. You cannot keep on changing your kidneys. One time is probably what it is. I didn't even know that you could transplant a heart until I think a few years ago. It's just, there is always that risk, isn't it?
There's always a risk for any organ transplantation. Yes, there's always a risk. But if we go into the little more details, in China, you just find they have organ of plenty. and that is making your hair rising, and you will see how you can get such number of organs, and even they can afford to waste organs. In Hunan province, there's a hospital try to promote the organ transplantation business. They give away 20 organs for free in 2008. Can you imagine 20 organs for free? That is impossible.
It's just, I'm just blown away with the amount of information that is coming out here. Now, so Arabs are actually willing to have their organs treated and changed with other halal organs. And it doesn't bother them that a fellow Muslim's life is being taken in order for them to get that organ.
I think this part of information has been kept secret from them. I think they just don't know that somebody else will die for them. What the Chinese is telling them is this is a criminal executed. This is a criminal who killed his wife or her husband. So all this kind of information.
So this is the last question for you. What is your message to the world?
My message to the world, I think I said that already, that we are same as you. We are human beings, and God created us equal, and we shouldn't be treated as a lower class citizen. And one person's life shouldn't be dependent on another one, unless there was voluntarily exchanged or agreed. I'm not against this organ transplantation technology. This is a great technology. What I'm against is without those donors concerned. And that is true light. If describe the CCP is they are making you dead, because donor, you have to be dead first to be qualified as a donor. What the CCP does is they make you dead, so your organ will be ready to be donated, and that is things I can't accept.
Thank you very much, Dr. Enver Tohti. And viewers, this is a very graphic description. It really tugs your heartstrings. And all I can tell you, sir, is more power to you. And I hope God gives you the strength. And your message is coming across clear. All creatures, all human beings are created equal. And what is playing out in China is something just abominable, just disgraceful. And this has to come to a stop. I mean, the way you've described this, I can't, understand. I mean, it's like I was by your side watching you perform these transplants, because it is such a description, such a detailed description that you have shared with us. So thank you very much. And we hope to have you back with us soon. And namaskaram.
Thank you very much for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you.